This isn't your typical Big 12 football Saturday with just one game this weekend, but man, do we have a jam-packed full show here for you today with plenty of breaking news across the Big 12 this week. This is Inside the Big 12, and I'm your host, Morgan Uber. Oklahoma State at Baylor, originally scheduled for this weekend, has been postponed and rescheduled for Saturday, December 12th. After recommendations from medical professionals, the Bears had to press pause on all football-related activities due to positive COVID-19 tests and necessary contact tracing. It's been a rough go for first-year head coach Dave Aranda and his team in the first half of this season. The Oklahoma State matchup is the first conference game postponed for the Bears, but the third game overall after cancellations in Week 1 with Louisiana Tech and then just a week later with Houston. This game will remain a home game for Baylor on December 12th. An important note to point out here, the Big 12 has come out and said that the Big 12 championship game can either be Saturday, December 12th or the 19th. Now, December 12th is still a possibility if Baylor and Oklahoma State are not competing in the title game or if the results from that matchup don't determine who will be playing in the title game. With the way, though, that we've seen things shake out here early on in conference play, it's likely things are going to come down the stretch to determine who's playing in Arlington at AT&T Stadium. Oklahoma State is one of 3 undefeated teams in the conference right now, but hey, we still got a long way to go. Let's take a look, though, at the standings now as we head in to Week 6. We're close to that halfway point, and like I mentioned, it is a tight race here. 2 teams sitting at 500, Baylor and West Virginia. I mentioned the Cowboys undefeated atop the standings, along with Iowa State and Kansas State. Both the Cyclones and Wildcats, they share wins over the exact same 3 opponents. Texas Tech, Oklahoma, and TCU. For Kansas State, that win over the Horned Frogs was with a true freshman, Will Howard, starting at quarterback. That leads us to our breaking news, which was announced by Kansas State head coach Chris Klieman on Monday, that senior quarterback Skylar Thompson will be out for the remainder of the season due to an upper body injury that required surgery. That was the only information that Coach Klieman delivered at that time. The 3-year starter was having himself a year. He led his team to a win over Oklahoma in Norman. He had thrown for 626 yards and 4 touchdowns in 3 games, all of that with no interceptions. Coach Klieman did say that his team is rallying around their new quarterback, Howard, the next man up, and he stepped up big against TCU last weekend and led the Wildcats to a win on the road against a historically tough Gary Patterson defense. Not a bad start to a college career. Wishing Skylar a speedy and full recovery. Whether you ask opposing coaches or his own teammates, they'll tell you that Skylar Thompson is one of the toughest players on the field and one of the best leaders in college football. He will be leading his team every step of the way, whether it's on the sidelines or watching film, and he'll definitely be contributing to the growth of Howard, which we'll see unfold here over the next several weeks. Other big news coming out of the Sunflower State. Kansas head coach Les Miles tested positive for COVID-19 last Thursday. The Jayhawks did have a bye last weekend, and Miles has been able to address the team via Zoom while in quarantine from his home. On Sunday, he turned to social media to thank fans for their support, and he also said, quote, that his health is pretty good. On the football coach's media teleconference on Monday morning, Kansas defensive coordinator DJ Elliott filled in for Coach Miles, and he provided an update on the logistics of the past week.
We were tested on Wednesday, and we found out on Thursday that Coach Miles tested positive for COVID. Coach Miles immediately had a plan put in place on how we were going to handle practice for Thursday and how we were going to handle our preparations on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He's been in contact with us on a daily basis. He's run the staff meetings. He's been involved in individual staff meetings as far as offense, defense, and special teams as well via Zoom. Our coordinators are handling their area of the ball, and Coach Miles is directing us exactly to what he wants us to do.
He also said that Coach Miles is planning to make the trip to Morgantown this weekend as the Jayhawks face West Virginia. Let's take a closer look at that matchup. Kansas has played 3 different starting quarterbacks this season: Miles Kendrick, Thomas McVitie, and Jalen Daniels. Daniels, though, suffered an injury after just 4 possessions in the game against Oklahoma State. It was Kendrick who stepped up and stepped in for the remainder of that game, and this week it was announced that Kendrick would be the starter for this weekend against West Virginia. The key for Kendrick this weekend is going to be making decisions under pressure. The West Virginia defense, they have 11 sacks through 3 games. That ranks second in the Big 12 in sacks per game, only behind Oklahoma State. They're led by senior defensive tackle Darius Stills, who's living up to the hype as preseason Defensive Player of the Year. 4.5 tackles for loss and 2.5 sacks. Stills and the rest of this Mountaineer defense is going to be bringing the heat on Saturday against the Jayhawks. The West Virginia fans, they're going to be bringing the noise. This marks the first game that the Mountaineers are allowed to have fans. Head coach Neil Brown said that he's looking to his student section to really set the tone for this game. He wants them to be loud and, most importantly, to wear their masks. A minor scheduling change here. This game, originally scheduled to be on FS1, is now big noon kickoff on Fox. You get another weekend of Gus Johnson, Joel Klatt, and Jenny Taft. That's 11 a.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy your one Big 12 football game on tap on Saturday, and have a great weekend, everybody.